Yes, 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 I'm coming. Sorry, I was just watching Ronnie win the final of the Masters once again. I was just catching it on TV before I left the house and hit the button to say hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to Sunday night. Bringing it back down, time for another live stream. Now, tonight, what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about these guys who I've got in front of me with their shield time. We're going to talk just a bit about Flytribe because I do want to talk about them again. And I will have a little bit of a video just coming, just highlighting the fact that they still exist. And we're just going to have a quick flick through the latest magazine. Not the latest, in fact. It was November's. But we're just going to have a quick flick through this. I want to talk a little bit about the DJI Avata Tune. The DJI Avata Tune. The DJI Avata 2, which we strongly believe, and I mean as in... there are people with it in their grubby hands as we speak. And I believe it's going to be coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then, further to that, we're going to talk a bit about AT32 and the fact it's here. And again, I have a video coming on this in the next week. It's already filmed. I just need to get it in the schedule for release. But we're just going to talk about the fact that you may or may not be aware that you need some special drivers for them. And I'm actually hosting them on the new Wiki website, but I'm going to talk through that a little bit as well because it's very handy to know. And you're going to need to know whether you're an Ardra pilot, whether you're on Betaflight, or whether you're on iNav, because you need the drivers for the DFU mode. Next, we're going to talk about what else have I put up there? Radiomaster releasing a product for Express LRS, and I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Which is the new Ronin compatible transmitter and receiver. And actually, I think Radiomaster have made a mistake here. I'd have quadrupled the price on this because it is incredibly cheap considering what you're getting. And the reason I'm going to talk about a bit about this is for those who are new here, and I mean new in the last 2-3 years, I used to make more content on DJI Ronin products than pretty much anyone else. For those who don't know, when I was testing stuff for DJI, one of the areas I actually had quite a bit of expertise in was the Ronin series. And I worked, supported alongside Paul Pan, who is the DJI product spec for it, product manager for it. And I actually ran the Ronin group, and I made a lot of content on Ronins over the years. So this is actually an interesting product for me, and I believe... in the development, Wes saw my video, which surprised him about how to actually connect via S-Bus and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that as well. Hello to everyone in the chat. I'd love it, but I'd love to, but they just never get it done, Captain Bryce said. I can't remember what those... we'll talk about Express LRS. And... maybe some other things on Express LRS and other things as well. So, I hope you're all safe and well. Just a comment, and I've just noticed here. Hello, Radiomaster. Hello, One Willie FPV, or everyone. Emily Piers. Emily Piers. Hello. Snugs FPV, Smags FPV, sorry. I gotta get this bigger. The chat is a bit small my side. It's a problem I still need to fix. Hello, everyone. Captain Bry. It's Peanut Butter Mads Tech time. Hello, hello, hello. So, just a couple of things. You may have noticed, for those who haven't seen, I did put a proper video out today on the new wiki. For those who didn't actually see that, the video is up on the channel. But that is talking about the new wiki that I have released. It is there. It is now HTTPS, so don't worry. It's not going to steal your bank details or hijack your plane or your car, but it is up and running. For those who don't know, probably need to zoom into that image a little bit more because that is terrible. Interesting. Very interesting week for me sort of around this. I was going to say, it's not every day you get a message from the amazing, great Lewis Rossman. And I did get a message from the man himself this week with regards to repair.wiki. And as a result of that message and some stuff that's now been done in the background, I am going to continue to upload stuff onto repair.wiki. And I'm working through the backlog of the FPV stuff from the original repair.wiki to get it onto the new repair.wiki. For those who want a very short story, the basics were obviously the repair.wiki is a website done by the organization that Lewis Rossman is part of, that he runs, which is the Open Repair. Let me just find what it's actually called because I'm losing it off the top of my head. I will find it now. About repair.wiki. I did talk about it in the video, but it is part of the Repair Preservation Group. Sorry, couldn't think of the name. And anyway, they've done a whole new website and everything needed to be transferred. And look, none of my comments are against any people specifically, but I went on the Discord server for it and just said, hey guys, what is the score with stuff being transferred? And I basically got a very useless answer, in my opinion, which was, hey, go read the guidelines, update the format, and it'll all be transferred. And then there was a few messages back and forth. And in the end, I just thought, sod this. If I don't know what I need to do, there's no help being forthcoming. And if I'm just going to get sort of one-word answers or very little overall help, then I'm not going to be involved, because I don't have time to sit here and spend hours figuring out how to do it to then go on to do it. And it was not Lewis Rossman's fault. It was no one's fault. I think it was just a bit of an oversight that they never really thought of what was needed to get people over. But anyway, someone highlighted it, or Lewis reached out to me and just said, look, I've seen the comments. Hey, it'd be a shame if people weren't involved. Tell us what we need to do. We understand. We think we've made a bit of a balls up. We don't want to lose the contributors. And it's all been sorted out. They've now put together a nice, tidy guide. They've made changes. Yes, it is a boatload of legwork. I say a boatload of legwork. It isn't. It isn't. It isn't shocking. But there's a lot of legwork that needs to be done to transfer stuff over. But I'm now happy to do it. Now I know what I need to do. What I wasn't going to do was mess around too long when I'm not really getting any help. I just don't have the time for that. You know, when I upload to repair.wiki, I don't spend crazy amounts of time doing it. As I'm doing my stuff, I do it, and then I take the images, and then I spend 5-10 minutes doing it, and it's done. What I don't want to do is spend hours trying to figure out how to do it again from scratch. And it's not hard, but I just needed a bit of guidance, and it wasn't forthcoming at the start, whereas now it is. And to be fair to them, they've made a huge step forward. They've released now migration guides, which is how to migrate over from the old wiki to the new wiki. They've explained what you need to do. They've added a new tool for bulk loading of images and various things like that. So it looks like the feedback got taken on board, and I just want to say a big thank you to Lewis for reaching out. It's good. You know, I appreciate the man is a very, very busy man, as are we all, and look, and he is a bit of a hero to many of us, and we had a little bit of a chat back and forth, and I just, again, it was really big appreciated of the time he spent messaging me, and yeah, not a message you get from someone every day of the week. So what I've said I'll do, which I will, is I'm gonna predominantly, as much as I can, get the wiki on repair.wiki back up to where it was. And then when I upload stuff moving forward, I will upload stuff to both repair.wiki and my own wiki. And the idea of this is the repair.wiki will be there if I fall off a cliff. So that'll be there whatever happens. I will then continue to update my own wiki, but with my own wiki, there will be a lot more information, because there isn't stuff I can really put on repair.wiki, because I'd be spamming it, and it would be advertising, and it would be stuff that isn't right. And what I mean by that is things like this. So if I go back to the desktop, and we've got repair.wiki here up, and if I just go to drones a minute, and if I just really simply go to the DJI Goggles 2, okay? Really simple, straightforward. You got image of the goggles, you got a very brief explanation, tear down images. That's really what repair.wiki is going to be about, and then you're going to have some repair guides below it if you need it. Whereas on my wiki, what I've done on the Goggles 2 is interlaced it with a bit more shilling. However, what you've got is a lot more detail in there. So you've got the official overview, you've got compatibility info, you've got the FCC hack info, including my own video, my website, I'm going to stick it there. Mad's Ramblings, which is just a bit more from me. You've got my review and the teardown videos in there as well, alongside the repair imagery and the teardown imagery. But you'll then have more info on stuff like all my latency testing, my frame rate. So, for instance, I've uploaded my chart of the O3 recording frame rates, which people may not be aware of, which tells you what the system does, but also the recording modes that are available. Because not everyone realizes the recording mode actually changes on O3 depending on the resolution. What I mean by that, H.264 and H.265, it switches between them. So if you look down here, depending on the goggles, if we take O3 in 1080p 60, the goggles in the Integra records in H.264, but the ear unit records in H.265. And there are also some really strange resolutions at play at O3 at times that people don't realize. It does move stuff around a little bit. It's a bit weird. It really is. So I've been able to upload stuff like this, which you wouldn't get on repair.wiki. And then we've also got like the latency testing, where you've got the video for it listed as well, and then all of the images. So if you wanted the full latency chart, there it is. You can click on that and bring that up. You can see the first pixel variances. You've got the DJI FPV system on its own. So again, it's just a lot more info than I was going to put on repair.wiki, but I will commit to still upload the raw image data for the boards to repair.wiki moving forward as well. So that's the plan. It's just going to take a bit of time to get repair.wiki up and running because I have to basically build a wiki again. As I've said, my wiki is where I will be putting more and more of my content on it over the time, and I've added more stuff even today. So for instance, if I go to the bottom, we've now got like the Impulse RC driver fixer listed, the AT32 driver package, which I'm hosting as well, which I will talk about a bit more later on. I do need to put some more links up because people complained I didn't put a donation link in for ArduPilot or iNav. I need to get them in place. I've been a bit dubious on iNav because I don't really understand what the situation is. Someone just asked, hello, are you surprised to see just how much information you compiled? Yeah, I'm actually sad that I didn't do this earlier because there would have been a lot more. There's stuff in videos that I don't have that I wish I'd have sort of done this earlier. Like, you know, the various charts. There's all the Express LRS stuff that's got to come up here yet. I haven't even begun on that, but I'm going to do repair.wiki before I move on to the Express LRS modules, where I then list the latency, not the latency tests, the RF power tests of all the Express LRS modules, and the internal PCB circuit diagrams as well, because I think Express LRS modules are a good thing to list on there. And then there's the radio PCB boards that I want to put up there as well. So then I've got to go back through everything I've already got, predominantly Radiomaster, but as well as the other things that I do have. But then we want to sort of have the teardowns of the PCBs, because things like radios, modules, receivers, it's all valid stuff that we can repair. Then there's the flight controllers that I want to start doing as well. So again, we start building up a list of the flight controllers. So there's a lot of work to do as well. With regards to obviously the support links for iNav and ArduPilot I do need to put up there. iNav I need to understand a bit more. Now, and the only reason I say this is, look, iNav, I know iNav is open source, predominantly done by Pavel, and I still don't fully understand the mix of iNav versus Pavel's own Powell or Pavel. I always get this wrong. Income. You know, where do the lines cross? It's easy for me. The channel is the channel. Whereas because he's a developer, and iNav feels, if you take Captain Bry, we know he's an ArduPilot developer. We take Wes. We know he's Captain Bry. We know he's an ExpressRS developer. We know Paul in English. Paul, okay. we know Pavel in Polish. We go Pavel. We know Captain Bry, Wes. They're ExpressRS developers, but it's very clear distinctions for me. You know, you want to support Captain Bry or Wes, you can. You want to support ExpressRS, you can. With iNav, it feels a lot more mixed, and I need to understand that a bit more. Is that, you know, let's go to iNav. Is there some way to support iNav? You know, how does that mix go? Do you know what I mean? I don't fully understand it. And that's it's simply I need to understand it before I can say, yeah, I'm happy to put a link there. What I'm saying is this. I don't want to start listing links to creators necessarily. And I'm not saying I won't, actually, because I think where there's very good reasons to do so, I would do it. But you've got to... I just want to make sure I understand what I'm linking. If you get my meaning. And that's the point I want to make. If anyone... I'm just trying to see how we support iNav. I'm even struggling to find... So if I go to iNav... Does iNav actually have a website? Does iNav... Because this ain't... You know, that's iNav configurator. It's got a GitHub, which I'm on now. But, you know, where is... iNavFlight.com. There we go. Finally. Right. Okay. So I've got to the right one. Right. So we're on here. See, there's not really even anything to say. Support iNav. This is the bit I'm not clear about. I had a look and I was like, huh? I don't understand where I would even go to, you know, latest releases. Let's just have a look if there's anything under that. iNav Discord server, firmware release notes, iNav 7. But again, there's nothing here that says, hey, come support us. And that's the bit I'm struggling with. Your video description, by the way, your video descriptions also need a link in your new video. Yeah, probably. There's all sorts. There's all sorts I got to fix on it. It'll be a slow burn. But look, the wiki's up. It's there. It can be used. I haven't looked at the traffic. Hopefully it's useful for people. It will continue to grow. And yes, it's got HTTPS. Oh, sorry, the video links. Yes, sorry. The links on videos need a link to repair.wiki. Sorry, FPV wiki. Yes, you are correct. Good spot. Haven't done that yet. So, again, it takes a bit of time to get. Wasn't really worth the difficulty. Again, okay, and that's the problem. So, but what I'm not going to do is say, hey, go support Pavel to support iNav. I don't think that's the right way forward in this scenario. If there's a dedicated page, then yes. Hey, Jims, how are you? I'm opening a mini roll. No problem. Glad you got it sorted. Strange one in the end. Just like an Enjoy iNav. Yeah. And look, if they set up an open collective, it would work. What I will say is this. I find it very hard to believe it isn't particularly difficult to sort that out. ArduPilot do it. ExpressLRS do it. The there are many, many, many people who collect money and distribute it as needed. I don't think it's a particularly difficult thing to do, personally. Okay, so, Glorious Quads. Do I know if there's a quality difference between P1X1 and A1 Mini when printing TPU? No, the print quality is virtually identical. There is, though, a difference in the profiles. The A1 Mini profile for TPU. Okay, in general, the Bamboo TPU profiles, and actually, it's really interesting you spoke about this. I have in the works, and I'm just waiting for a new spool of TPU to come. A full start to finish how to print TPU on the Bamboo and K1 printers come in for FPV. It's sort of for FPV and everyone. And almost, this is what I do. Here's my profiles. Here's my settings. My observations are the Bamboo profiles for their own filament is fine, but you do need to make sure their TPU is dry, very hydroscopic. And look, we all know TPU is hydroscopic. However, theirs is like, it really needs to be dry. In fact, I'd say this across the board. All of the Bamboo filaments really don't like to be wet at all. I am terrible for leaving filament out, okay? Let me just turn around. There's a spool there. Those spools have been sitting on that AMS for weeks. I've left the AMS open. I'm terrible for letting my filament absorb moisture. I just am. I can never be bothered to do drying, but I'm having to do more of it with Bamboo. Their own filaments are definitely more hydroscopic than maybe some of the others out there. You are also noticing this with the fast PLAs as well. With regards to TPU, SaneSmart will print okay on the Bamboos in the generic profile, but it's not great. The generic profile, well, no, let me rephrase that. It's not great for SaneSmart. What I've ordered is some Overture TPU from Amazon, and I want to try their standard profile on Overture to see what it's like. You can't put TPU in the AMS. No, the AMS doesn't have a heater. It doesn't have a heater for drying filaments. No, it's got, you know, the moisture absorbing stuff that you can replace, which I can never be bothered to do. The AMS is fine. If it's dry and you keep the lid closed because it's got a rubber seal, it'll stay dry. But I can never remember the name. But I never keep the lids closed. Look, I am not... I tend to abuse things. You know, I'll open the lid, take it out and just leave it open, or drop it down and not fully close it. But I've ordered a spool of Blue Overture TPU just to see how it behaves on the standard profile. What I have noticed with SaneSmart is you tend to need to run it a little bit cooler. It runs too hot on the Bamboo standard profile. Bamboo tend to run, I think their stock profile's like 245. And if you look on the side of the SaneSmart, their range is 200. I think it's 200 to 220. Let me just grab a spool. There's one on the printer. And see, there's actually a spool of TPU on the printer right now that has been left in the open air. And I want to show, and I would show you a print of it, but I can't because it's attached to a drone. I'm not allowed to show you yet. But let me grab this other one. My ancient spool of SaneSmart, this is a really old one, is, yeah, 200 to 220. So they tend to be a bit cooler than a lot of the other TPUs on the market. So the Bamboo stock profile, I think, is 245. But what I've done is I've made some adjustments. So if I open up Bamboo Slicer, on the A1 predominantly, it's not so bad on the bigger printers. The A1, it tends to be a little bit thing. We'll come on to the Avata 2 in a moment. But if I open up Bamboo Studio, I'll just show you my settings, what I've done. I've made some tweaks, and I've got it about bang on now. On the A1, it's just a bit hot, a little bit hot. So what I've done is created my own TPU profile. So if I go to the A1 Mini and I've got my own MADS TPU A1 Mini, and if I just edit that, what you'll see is the filament settings are 200 to 251, but I've set the first layer at 240 and then the other layers at 225. I've limited it to 225. That's quite small. I think the stock, I've also then adjusted the retraction length to 2.2 mil and the retraction speed to 40 millimeters a second. And this is on the A1, and that has got me about bang on the A1. If I look at their stock profile, TPU, where is it? Generic TPU. Bamboo TPU. Where's the generic TPU? I might have overridden it with my one. If we look at Bamboo's TPU settings, you can see temp-wise, they're up to 230, so I've taken it down a little bit. And they have a very small retraction on it as well. So there is a bit of a difference in the behavior. And again, it depends the spool. And again, this is wet as hell. So, don't you have to take into account the Bamboo is using a hardened steel nozzle instead of brass? Not really on TPU. There's going to be the brass is going to heat quicker compared to the hardened steel, but it's negligible. It doesn't have much retraction. Yeah, potentially. I think, look, there's not a hard you can't use TPU in the AMS. You can get away with it and it may work, but it may jam. That's the problem. You are right on the AMS Lite. It should be far tidier. But I don't. It's not a big job to swap them over. You know, TPU in an AMS, you'd need a very different kind. You'd just need to figure out a way of, you almost would need a dual feeder, a feeder above the hot end and a feeder in the hot end. There isn't a big reason why the feeder at the back shouldn't be able to push it through on the AMS Lite. But I do have a full TPU video coming specifically for TPU. There are people who've also found things a little bit different. Quality-wise, there's no real difference in quality between the A1 Mini and the P1S and the X1, even in prints. The quality of that little printer is incredible. I'll be honest, that printer for TPU, I just leave it set up on TPU at the moment because it's phenomenal for it. I haven't actually printed the little mouse yet. I'm going to do that this week, but I'm going to probably do that on the X1 because I want to print it in carbon fiber filament, carbon fiber reinforced, PET GCF, or PET's carbon fiber is probably what I want to do. I want to do that this week. I am in the middle of testing something else. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you. I don't know. Is it under NDA? I don't know. I don't know if that is under NDA. If you think of what a K1 is, and if you then was to add, say, the third letter of the alphabet after it, no more X-Scribe printers. I've seen a lot of people are getting the A1s. I've not seen the A1. I've not tried the A1. When am I going to show us the review of the AOS 5? It's probably going to be 2-3 weeks. There's 2 videos that I've had to do. Look, flight time at the moment is almost impossible. I almost won't be reviewing the AOS 5 version 2. I've flown it. It flies really nice. I don't know what more to say. I don't know how I can tell you any more than I told you on the live stream last week. I really don't. The AOS version 5 you will see tomorrow. I said this last week. If you haven't seen, I actually talked about this on last week's stream. It flies really nicely. I don't know what more to say. I don't know what else to say than, look, frame reviews is very difficult because unless you're going to stand there and go, snap it, crash it into a tree, it flies as good as the AOS version 3 that I tested before. The AOS Supernova motors are very nice, little bit noisy. I need to check the PWM frequency. I haven't done it yet. I need to see what they're like on 48 kilohertz. They're a little bit noisy on 24. You get a little bit of a rattle from them, but they fly very nice. Are they incredibly better than the 18550 Zings that I flew this week? No. Could I actually tell the difference between the Supernovas and the 1850 Zings? Very similar. Very similar motor. Not a lot in it. This is all percentages of a percentages. Chris's frame is very nice. I have no complaints about Chris's new AOS frame. I don't really know what more I can say. I can put out a video showing you it moving in flight. I don't know what else you can really say about it. Everything you want to say about the AOS 5, you almost have to talk about on the bench because it's a freaking frame. One of the big... It's a frame. Yeah, Failsafe has just said the same thing. It flies very nice. It doesn't fly like crap. I have no intention of flying it into a wall and saying it snaps. There will be a follow-up video coming, but I don't really know what people want. People wanting me to sit there and say, Chris is lying and telling us stuff about vibrations that aren't true. I can't. It does what all of his AOS frames do. It doesn't have the problem of the A-frame truss, so it won't get hung up in trees. It does require a longer cable if you're using it with O3, but you can get away with using the stock cable that may or may not be installed on some future product that may or may not exist that you might know about tomorrow from Cadex. Or it doesn't have any other issues. The arms aren't particularly weak. One's not snapped whilst flying. The front hasn't fallen off in flight. And the tune Chris provides does okay, although it is a bit high on the P gains, especially if you don't fly it with a GoPro. Verified black box reduction. I can't, because I don't have the last frame. You could never do a difference between two frames in a flight. The builds would be different. A tune of one nut would have a different effect on the performance. Literally, a tension difference between one arm screw would be the difference. It's just not possible to tell. What I can tell you is it flies okay. I think if you've flown the old AOSs and you want to build a new one and you want the new frame, you'll be more than happy with it. Does it fly better than, say, the longer frames? Yes. I don't really know what people expect to learn about the AOS 5 that they won't learn on any other frame. I just don't know what you can learn. You know, if we're going to go down... There seems to be as well, people want to be very critical if arms easily change. They're fairly straightforward. It's two nuts. It's not difficult. It's two nuts, it's not difficult. There's really nothing bad to say. That's the problem. And I'm not really sure what people want. It's just the fact that there's a V5, there'll be a V6 tomorrow. Yeah, but at least you can get all the parts. Remember, we talked about this last week on last week's stream as well. So we did talk about the fact you can get all the parts for all of Chris's frames. And look, there's been 2 Speedy B Master 5s in a very short period of time. iFlight knockout frames... a rate of knots. there's a lot of criticism around Chris simply because I think Chris puts himself out there for it in the sense of he does all of the testing. But I don't really know what more people want to know about the frame. 90% of what you need to know about an FPV frame you learn on the bench, not in the air. You know, how thick are the arms? How does it go together? How does it take a build? You know, does it take a flight controller? Okay, what options does it have? What lengths of cables do you need between the VTX and the front end? Is the front end difficult to put together? It's that's the most of it. People wanting to find out, is Chris vibration stuff true or false? I don't know how anyone can verify that. Chris is doing it in CAD and in software that allows him to simulate the flexibility of a frame. That is as much info as we have from any manufacturer today. That is as much info as exists, period. No one else publishes that kind of data. So all you can do is go, well, that's what we've got. I get the logic in what he's showing with the twisting and the gaps. I see what he means. When you look at it, it just makes sense. Does it make a difference? Who knows? Is Betaflight's tuning so good now that it doesn't matter? Potentially. You know, would you have to go back? Here's a real test. Would you have to go back to Betaflight version 1.0 to really feel the difference in these frames? That's a real question. I got the iFly AOS 5 version 2, but I only had it for under 24 hours. Second pack, it decided to fly away from me. It totally freezed and just disappeared. That's pretty weird. Where's the link to Mads Tech's wiki page? I will post it here now in a second before we move forward. And we're going to talk about the Avata. In fact, I should put it in the description of this video. Will DJI release any more cameras for the O3? I'm not expecting it because we haven't seen them yet. I'm putting it in the description for this video as well. There we go. No, there are no pics of the Avata 2 that I can share. That's a very cleverly worded statement. So, DJI. We are on the cusp of the next set of product releases. Now, a lot of this is going to be sounding like hearsay, so I'm going to have to say you should take none of this as fact. It could all be BS, except nothing until you see it in your hands. But what? There is stuff that I've had verified this week through people who have it in hands that verifies other information that I can't go into that we know about. So, DJI are working on new drones based on new chipsets, which we know is O4. There's been a lot of rumors and talk about a new FPV drone. I've seen no evidence yet of the FPV drone. What I've seen evidence of is Avata 2 called Avata 2. That has been confirmed by someone in hand. I've not seen it personally. I can openly say that. I am not part of any DJI don't work with me, so I've not been sent it. I'm not a KOL for DJI. I'm not here to tell you how amazing they are and that they're not an evil Chinese company who want to take over the world. They're not an evil Chinese company that want to take over the world, but that's just me trying to be funny. However, they are releasing an Avata 2. It seems like that is the first product that's going to have O4. It's going to have the new goggles with the cameras on the front. It's a similar design, but it is different enough. It is not a copy and paste of the current drone. we're going to have to wait and see what the features really are going to be. DJI are going to say, oh, for longer range. It's probably going to have better flight time. I'm waiting for some comparison images. Have I seen the OpenITC videos? The new videos are insane. Still a load of hearsay and bullshit, and until I see it in real hand, it is nothing more than nonsense. That's my thoughts on OpenIPC. They won't like me saying that, but until I see it, still marketing BS, and I would say the same about anyone else who kept posting stuff online with wording like perfect for freestyle, amazing. It is not a product. It is not near a product. Don't get hoodwinked and caught into something that is still nothing more one step ahead than renderings. It exists. It is at best not even alpha at this stage. Getting back to DJI. Sorry, I got distracted. With regards to the Avata 2, so it's a different drone, but it isn't. If you look at it, you go, yeah, I know what that is. It's not going to take the same batteries. I don't know what else it's going to have. It's not clear. It's not massively different, but it isn't the same either. What we know, though, is it's running 04. We know, though, that it's going to have these new goggles. We don't know what's planned behind it. What is rather interesting is with removable prop guards. Not sure. It's hard to say. Here and now, it's not clear what DJI are going to do. They're probably going to, look, it's going to have a better camera, which DJI are going to tell you is so much better. It's going to have longer flight time, almost certainly have longer flight time. From some of the info I did have, I did get the feeling this is a bit of a longer range aircraft. I just want the ear unit, lol. Well, there's no evidence of 04 ear unit yet. It won't work with any of your DJI stuff. We don't know. Look, you have to take into account what DJI choose to do and what they are doing is interesting. I'm not sure who you know, but none of my boys have the Avata 2. Yeah, it's landed in people's hands now. So, well, I don't know how wide they've spread it. I don't know if it's lithium ion. That's a very interesting question. It could still be the early testers of, or let me just use the word testers, have received packages. It could just be the early ones. But yeah, it's out there. Whether it's going to be before Chinese New Year, we don't know. The problem is we don't know a date for launch. There's nothing been confirmed yet. What is quite interesting is that it's not landed in people. There's not really been any leaked images yet. Under 245 grams, we don't know. We don't know specs. People, look, the info I had was very fast coming, and it confirmed some stuff I already knew. But now it's sort of gone a bit quiet a minute, and I'm waiting to hear a bit more. But look, people want to be careful. There are agreements in place, and they don't just want to break them. I was told stuff with the, I didn't tell you this, but I did, and if you want to talk about it, I'm not going to be upset, if you know what I mean. I don't know. I don't know if DJI is going to push for this 249. It's so good they can force the bind and fly makers into using DJI. Can't wait. Overbee, I don't believe, or Overbees, I don't believe that's true. And I still call BS on that story. I still call complete BS on the story that DJI forces vendors to only use 03. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I do not believe it for 1 minute. I just don't. It just doesn't align with anything I know. I said this last week, and I will say it very quickly again. If DJI wanted to compete with Avatar, they do it on price. They always have. They always will. DJI's number one weapon in their pockets is volume and pricing. And anyone who's been around long enough to see it has seen it happen time and time again. DJI can outproduce and outprice anyone if they want to. The very fact they've not massively reduced the cost of the goggles, the fact that even the Integras were not particularly great value, and the ear units tells me they just don't care. They're not going after them that way. DJI could have done a sub $400 goggle if they wanted to. They've chosen not to. They're not interested in what Cadex are doing. They're just not. And as for bind and fly manufacturers being forced, I can tell you today why bind and fly manufacturers are choosing DJI above everything else. And that is warranty, and that is reliability, and the fact it will just work. The failure rate of O3, DJI FPV, and all of them is minuscule. Even when you look on the groups, the forums, the Discord servers, it is, as a product, incredibly reliable on an almost ridiculous level. And I have actually discussed this before, which is one of the reasons it's so reliable is DJI put a huge amount of effort into power delivery. And people keep saying, I want to see a one-board DJI VTX. And whilst I'm not saying they won't do it or they can't do it, you have to have enough backup to stop problems getting through. DJI's power stages on their ear units are so much more complex than everyone else's, and that is what also gives us this reliability. Extra stages of power delivery. If we look at the number one problem of failure on the Avata HD VTX and the HDZero VTX, and it's the input 5-volt regulator. On all of these smaller VTXs, the main point of failure is the input 5-volt regulator. Then that tends to blow the dialogue regulator on the Avata HDs, which is the system IC regulator. But it's always that input regulator. That just doesn't happen on O3. Or DJI FPV, or the Vista. It just doesn't happen. One entire side of DJI's ear units is basically dedicated to power delivery. And that takes space, and that takes cost. And whilst those ear units might cost a bit more, they are dramatically more reliable in general use. I did just see Brandon Beans. He said he's sending his second one back. How have you managed to kill him, Brandon? What have you broke? They sold the Avata kit for $800 all over the holiday. Goggles, drone, and motion controller. Yeah. They'll fix it for free because it's under warranty. Yeah. That, I can tell you now, that is why the bind and fly manufacturers choose DJI. Turnkey generally just works. Don't get return problems. What is the number one thing you don't want when you make a product? It coming back. It coming back costs you money. So picking a third-party accessory for your product that is going to be unreliable is going to cause your margin to go out the window. And that's reliable. And that's why bind and flies aren't doing it. Too many problems with the Avata VTX. The 1S's burn out like they go out of fashion. Anyone who's had 1S's and broke the top, if you broke the top plate, you did well. It had an impression of the Diversity Express LRS press into it. Yeah, I'm not sure we can blame DJI for that one. Yeah, DJI also basically don't fix, they'll just send them back. It would be nice to see Walksnail release a non-beta product. Maybe in 2026. Ooh. Another leak. The old 1S could survive up to 7.2 volt. Yeah. The new one won't. You'd be lucky to get 5.5 volt and the thing will flip out. And burn up. I've seen a lot of the 1S's go. The 1S is just... I hope the next Avata is a bit quieter. Yes, so do I. And actually, it's quite interesting, that subject. So that's the DJI leaks. We have to wait and see what happens. And I will say that whilst the Avata, it is loud. The Avata is freaking loud. I was flying. Forget how loud the Nazgul is. The Nazgul's a loud quad as well. There's a review coming Tuesday of what I believe to be my... I believe... Why am I believing in what I believe? I believe... Yeah, it's 1 to 3S on the new ones. Yeah, you had the Vision 1 1S, the Vision 2 1S, and now the 1 to 3S. On Tuesday, there's going to be a review of what I personally believe is the best 5-inch quad I've ever flown, I've ever used. It might not suit everyone. It's not a freestyle quad. It is a cinematic quad. And what a bit of kit I think it is. It isn't for smashing around bandos. It isn't for... you know, smashing into the ground. This is a quad designed to carry a GoPro, which is going to give you great footage. And I think it is a really phenomenal piece of kit. It is a frame that is available on the market already. I'm not going to do any more than that because I don't know what I am and not allowed to say. And it just is, I think it is very, very good. Not everyone will like it. It won't suit everyone, but man, out the box, it flies so well. Really great bit of kit. I was allowed to sneak something on Instagram, so I'm going to sneak something here. I'll get into trouble, but hey-ho. All I'm going to show you very quickly is that, and that. And that's all I'm going to show you. And for those who know what it is, you will know what it is. It's not a Nazgul. I'm not saying the make ain't right, but it's not a Nazgul. Oh, that's an interesting comment, that bottom one. Another thing to spend money on. You're right. I was allowed to put something on Instagram that I didn't do, so I'm gonna take liberties with my live stream and do it there. Sorry, guys. We have the correct answer in the chat. That's all I'm going to say. Stop. You don't need to go any further. There's a big sign. But yes, it's coming Tuesday, possibly. Very nice piece of kit. 3D print my ideal frame. Yeah, crash it. Cool. So, look, with the Avata stuff, that is, that's all we know. I don't know how widespread the people who have it hands-on are. It could be early adopter. Some very early people have had it. But I do know it's in someone's hands. So flight time, release time, probably before Chinese New Year. Did anyone see anything interesting CES for FPV? I've seen nothing. So that's the DJI. We'll move on to that. CES has been this week. I have been watching CES. I've seen a lot of TVs in CES this year. Noticed a lot of TVs and monitors. AI in monitors as well. If anyone's watched, there seems to be AI is definitely coming in everything we've ever owned. And there's been some cool tech being shown in AI. And some of this actually will have a direct influence on FPV, actually. And One of them was quite, 115-inch seems nice for ground station. One of the real interesting ones is a monitor with built-in AI. And whilst you might think, well, what use is a monitor with built-in AI? This is going to be potentially difficult for game developers to monitor and stop. But actually, I saw this and thought, wow, this could be cool for drones. And what it is the AI engine in the monitor monitors the display, that image that comes in. And in a game, it would like monitor the radar for you. Say you had a game with a radar telling you where there might be people. It would monitor that section of the screen and then give you warnings that there might be someone coming close, or tell you or show overlays on the screen where you need to point your weapon to fire. And the interesting thing with that is, because it's at display side, it's completely undetectable by game engines because it's after everything. It's at the point of it being shown on the screen, and the AI is integrated into that. And whilst they might be able to block monitors with that feature in, it's going to be interesting. And yes, this is going to cause huge problems with cheating and things like that. But if you bring that then one step forward, you could have an AI engine that monitors your display output for other aircraft whilst you're flying. And there's lots of interesting things that could come from this. And whilst it isn't ideal for the game industry, and I don't know how the game industry is going to deal with this, because you're going to have AI engines running on monitors, running between displays, doing all sorts of things that we've not been able to do before. It's going to be interesting to see how other industries adopt this technology. And look, you could literally have the situation where it's monitoring your FPV input and for you detects too much sag on your battery level that you may not have spotted, and then puts a warning up, or detects something else around you that doesn't look correct, and things like this. So there's a huge amount of potential in this sort of stuff. There really is. But I've not really seen much drone-related stuff out of CES. I'll be honest. So, but I did think that was interesting. I've been watching Linus's stuff, LTT. I've been watching GN. Do like the new cases. The new cases look really nice from Thermaltake, I think they were. Will it be able to see those darn wires? So, okay, before we move on, I just want to say hello to the 277 of you that are here. Please do give this stream a like before we move forward. I didn't see any drone stuff, though, no. Transparent screens, as Louis said. Yeah, really cool. All sorts. Display technology is definitely moving on right now. Definitely moving on. I guess DJI don't tend to do CES and stuff anymore. They tend to do their own things now. So, the next thing we're going to talk about, AI flies your drone while you watch a movie. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and I do have a video on this coming actually, but it is an interesting subject, and it's actually around these two. So if I go to the overhead, it is the two AT32s, and I have a dedicated video coming on these two flight controllers. But the one thing I just wanted to mention is, and I don't know how many people you know this, is obviously Betaflight 4.5 has official support for the AT32 now, which is obviously the 435. However, whilst these flight controllers will install and connect to Betaflight as standard, before you can actually flash these, you're going to need to install some custom DFU drivers, because there is no standard DFU driver for the Arteri AT32 chipset. It isn't installed as part of the driver fixer from Impulse RC, and you're going to need to download a special set of drivers from the Arteri website. Now, the hint of this will be that you'll be able to connect to the flight controller in Betaflight. It'll look fine, but you won't be able to flash it. It will simply hang every time you try to connect on the reboot. Now, I have hosted the driver on my website. I have the AT32 driver package program here, and there will be a link to it on the FPV wiki. But if you do want to get it, you can go to our TerryKeys website. So you're going to ATEREY Artery AT32. Let's just get to their website a second. If you go to their website and go to the main homepage, it's not really where you would expect it to be. So you want to go under support and tool, and the driver package is actually hidden as part of the ISP software, which is this here. So it isn't actually listed separately. There's no drivers listed separately. All you actually have is this ISP, and as part of this, let me just come off a second because there are things I've got to be careful about showing. And I go to downloads. Back to the desktop. You'll download this. You'll have then the Arteri DFU driver install folder. And you want to install the driver with this little program here. Let me just double click it and wait for it to wake up. And this will install the Arteri DFU drivers. This little program here will come up, and then you simply install the driver, and then you will be able to flash. Now, this is probably going to catch a lot of people out as they do get their Arteri AT32 based flight controllers. As you look at these on the overhead, they are very, very similar to what you've seen from the STM32. They're pretty much pin for pin the same. What is also interesting, actually, and I can't easily show you it here, but there are actually some pins on this one which aren't connected on the iFlight board. This board costs $20. Sorry, $25, £20 in the UK, which is the Neutron RC. What's a bit frustrating about the Neutron RC is the spec is just really hard to understand. There is a baro sensor on this. There's 2 becks on this, although it's not listed in the specs. The iFlight spec is obviously a lot better, as you would expect from iFlight. Does have proper becks on board as well. Both have the chipset for the analog OSD 2, and this one costs about $28, I think it is off the top of my head. And that really is about all you need to know to get them up and running. But you do need to make sure that you do install that driver package. Someone has just asked, you mentioned the driver fixer. I have to run that every time I plug in a different FC. Any ideas why, what could be wrong? You do get this. I've had this before. There's some quirks at times with the STM32 drivers. You shouldn't have to do it, but I've also had to do this on some flight controllers. Tends to be, if you're swapping between like H7s and F4s, you get this weirdness that Windows plays up. There's no strict reason for it. It's just Windows isn't delivering the correct driver. The real interesting thing on the AT32s is just how much faster they are. You know, they're 288 megahertz out the door. So much quicker. Just, I have this document which I share in the video just to show you here, actually. And They are just so much quicker. The real interesting thing with the AT32, I can't make that any bigger, I don't think, to show you. Can I? Yes, I can. The real interesting thing with the AT32 is the fact of it's got 1 meg of ROM storage, and it is a better option in many ways than the STM32 F722. The F722 is highly limited because it's only got 512 kilobytes of ROM storage, which means on the likes of Ardra and iNav and maybe even Betaflight, you're going to have some issues. One of the big reasons everyone is still happy to bang out the STM32 F405 is that it is generally fully compatible. Obviously, you do have the H743, which has 2 megabytes of ROM storage, 1 megabyte slots. It can have up to 1 megabyte of RAM as well, and it runs at 480 megs. It is an absolutely stonking processor, is the H743. But the AT435 is actually, in many ways, a better choice than the STM32 F722, especially when you look at the pricing. If you look at the pricing of these chipsets, right, so about $2 for the $2.99. This pricing is a little bit old. It may have come down a little bit now because this was done in pandemic. But it's $2.99 for the 411, $6.70 for a 405. The 435 is cheaper than the worst STM32. The flash storage hasn't been an issue since cloud builds. Potentially no, but for Betaflight, largely no. But for the other flight stacks, it's still somewhat an issue. It's not end of the world in Betaflight anymore because you can take stuff out. And Ardra has done the same, but you can't have full functions without enough ROM storage. Yeah, the G4 is a weird one. I need to do a video on the G4. The G4 really isn't an ideal replacement. You've got the G4s in the Alpha, FetTech Alpha stuff. The G4 is a bit of a weird processor. It's what version is in the FetTech Alpha? Wait there. I can't remember what the version is. It's the G4. I need the number. Shop, flight controllers. Do they get? Is it a good enough image? I've actually got one of these over there. Let's just have a look. Is that image in? Let me open the image in a new tab. So it's the STM32 G473. STM32 G473. If we have a look, it's still an ARM M4, so it's an Cortex M4. What speed are they running these at? I haven't actually looked. Okay, so if we look at the data sheet for the G4s, see, it's still only 170 megs. So that AT32 is going to wipe the floor with the G4. It's still going to wipe... The AT32 is still going to wipe the floor with the G4. It really is. Up to 512 kilobytes of flash. Still small flash. Not 1 meg either. Not ideal. It's not an ideal chipset. It's a bit of a sidestep, is the G4. It's not perfect. 16 DMA channel controller, which is good. What's the I/O like on it? 14 timers, okay. What we got on I/O? Where is the I/O? So 5 UARTs, okay, that's okay. 4 SPIs. USB 2, okay. USB-C, Yeah. 3 CAN bus ports, 4 I2C bus. Okay, it's not terrible, but 7 12-bit digital analog channels, 6 operational amplifiers used in PGA mode. Yeah, it's okay. Look, it's a sidestep. It's an alternative to the F405, really. But it doesn't have 1 meg of ROM storage, which is a bit of a pig because you're going to hit up against that same problem again. And whilst it isn't end of the world for cloud builds, let me just get down to the bit I'm looking for. 2 seconds. There's a chart down here somewhere. Yes. Come on. Where's the chart? Here it is. Okay, so 473. Yeah, 512 kilobyte max. 128 megabits of SRAM as well. Pretty low. It's not a great chip. It's on a newer node. The G series is on a much newer node. You can see that by the IC itself. I don't know what the price of a G4 is. I'll have to look that up. I still have my G4 Apple Mac. Congrats. Now, if you have any if you have any questions, please do put it in the chat and I will answer it as soon as I can. Let me just read down the chat. I thought Windows 11 fixed it recently. Moscow, thanks. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I know Cadex were at the drone show, but because I posted a bit of a pokey image online. Someone just said, I've seen something from Cadex. And I just said, and he said, but I'm not allowed to tell you. So I just posted the image. You don't get to know. Baby oil bath Mads Tech picks out now. Only on my OnlyFans. OnlyFans. Mr. Huggies. Company like Diatown New doing G4s. You don't get to know. Yeah, I literally did. You don't get to know. That image will live on forever. In the hearts and minds of all of us. Cheers, Drew. Hope you're well, by the way, my friend. Happy New Year. Wherever you are in the world. Just catching down on the chat. If you do have any questions, do put them in there. We'll try and answer them. I hope it has new 04 goggles. Hopefully on DJI, it is believed it'll have 04 goggles, yes. What that means, though, we don't know. I have the first flat screen it came with from 2002. Remember when Pioneer used to make flat screens? Best 2.5 inch to 3 inch frame to trip around my garden. Prop guards mandatory. The Pavo Pico's a good little quad. But it's a bit of a pig. But it's a good digital little quad. I did like the Pavo Pico. I also like the Flylens 85. Bit bigger. You can put prop guards on the Flylens 85 as well. It's quite lightweight. Yeah, Flylens 85 or Pavo Pico, I would say. I do like those two little ones. If you want something a bit bigger... Ian, what's wrong with the SpeedyBF 405 version 3? Nothing for the money. You're at the version 3 or the version 4? Wait a minute. Which one? Are we talking the mini or the full size? Flylens 75. Yes, they have the 75 as well. They did want to send me the 75, and I was just like, I don't know what more I can add. Fox Swoop 25 is unbreakable. Blades of grass in it. Yes, lots of blades of grass in mine. The 50 amp version 3 fill size. Nothing. The SpeedyBee are making some really good cheap flight controllers right now. So they have some discounts on some of their older ones as well. So if we go to their website, products, if we go for stacks a minute, because it's easier to look at stacks. You got the F405 Vision 4. There is the F405 Vision 3, which there was some issues with, mostly in iNav. There wasn't that many issues with it in Betaflight. There is an issue with the Vision 3 in iNav with regards to them sharing a port on the top of my head not a port on the top of my head, but they were sharing a port wrong in the configuration that affected... I'm trying to remember. It affected... There's definitely something a bit quirky on the version 405. It's not bad. It's not that you can't use it. It affected iNav more. D-Shot not working. Wasn't it D-Shot in iNav, though? It was fine. Wasn't D-Shot fine in Betaflight? I thought it worked fine in Betaflight and not in iNav. And Black Box and Analog OSD. Okay, they had a few issues there, then. That's it. iNav doesn't have bit banging for D-Shot. Yeah, it's fine with Betaflight. It's not with iNav, basically. And you might have problems with Analog OSD and Black Box. When will GPS modules get RID built in? There's already a very small drone tag module. Can't imagine they be built. Yeah, it won't be long. Look. Can I wire up a Vista to an analog flight controller? Absolutely. You just need a UART. Remember, an analog flight controller has a chip that overlays analog OSD. You don't have to use it. You're paying for something you don't need. All you need is a free UART. As long as you have a free UART, you're fine, and not soft serial. When do you think we'll start seeing more Terry controllers? I'm still hoping for a wing controller. Yeah. Who makes the wings today? So if you think it's Maytech and Speedy Bee. I tell you what, it'll be interesting to see if Speedy Bee move to them. Because remember, Speedy Bee is basically Runcam. I would be considering the market Speedy Bee are in on cheap. You know, they want to make cheap flight controllers. I would be shocked that we wouldn't see a Speedy Bee AT435. I would be shocked there wasn't an Arteri one. Because they're already pushing the budget. And why would you not want to go further at this pricing? Ah, there we go. Captain Bry. On 4.5 RC2 with the version 3, you can get black box with OSD turned off or black box with gaps with OSD turned on. Ah, there we go. Do I think Speedy Bee release a new version of the F7? I don't know. Speedy Bee are a bit weird on how they do things. They're a company that you sort of hear nothing about for ages, and then they release loads. It's weird. You know, look, they make some nice flight controllers, but they sort of dip their toes in it. What's interesting is you get a lot of comments of people talking about, you know, iFlight's reliability and stuff. And I think iFlight are doing a really nice job on their FCs right now. Considering what they're charging for this 435, it's a very nice little controller. I'm seriously tempted, because I'm still doing... let me get the overhead. Let me get my scales a minute. Let me just have a look. Where are they? They keep vanishing. I need to find a home for my FPV scales. I also need some... Can anyone recommend, while I find them, some decently accurate scales? I need a new set of scales, because these only go in 1 gram increments. Where have they gone? Where have they... I had them yesterday. How have they vanished already? Every time I go to look for them. I found them. I found them. Any drug dealers in the chat? I need some very accurate scales. Drug dealers. Overhead. They have some good scales. So if I just... what's interesting is this. I'm in the middle of doing this ultralight build for the toner. So if we talk about that ESC, that ESC is 12 grams. So I've been looking at pricing of an all-in-one, but I'm thinking of not bothering with an all-in-one for the Tony. So if we first of all look at the Speedy Bee, which is 7 grams. The AT32, which is 6 grams. And the iFlight, these scales are just not accurate enough. 5 grams. 5 grams. 7 grams. 6 grams. 7 grams. Not really as... Now, if I think about this, we want to go with... So that stack weight is 19 grams. That stack weight is 17 grams. And that stack weight is 18 grams. 17 grams. Do I really want to save 1 to 2 grams on this build? That's the question. I don't really think the 1 to 2 grams is going to make a big difference. You're not my dealer with this. 7 grams for these light ones, which is fairly good compared to some of the bigger stuff. If we look at the, like if I look at the Speedy Bee ESC, I didn't use this in the Rossa build on purpose because I wanted AT32. That's a 24 gram ESC. Yeah, that's probably what I need. I have thick scale 50 gram. That's super nice, but only does 50 grams. Yeah, I need something like that, Chris. Definitely need something like that. I need to have a look on Amazon and have a look at scales. If I search for... Do I need to search for drug dealer scales on Amazon? Precision scales. Precision scales. Oh, digital pocket scales. 200 gram in 0.01 increments. I wonder how accurate they are. They're a tenner. I can't imagine they're particularly accurate. We have a look at these. Do you think they're that accurate? They look okay, don't they? Jewelers use them too. Don't ask how I know. Thick scales, 50 grams. So thick scales. Do they exist? No, not on Amazon. Thick scales, 50 gram. Oh. What about these? 13 pound? Those? Do you think they're all right? Look for scales with a 50 gram calibration weight included. That includes a 50 gram calibration weight. Interesting. Probably need something like that. The 50 gram weight looks like Weight Watchers food scales. Yeah, something like that looks... There's another one there. There's another one there. There's plenty on you in there. Plenty on you, 14, 15 quid. 50 gram weight. That one does max 200 grams. Search for 0.1 resolution. Yeah, these do to 0.1 resolution. They do 200 grams, those ones. You sort of want... Is 50 enough for measuring a full stack? 200? Ooh, look at them. Very nice. So, definitely need more scales. Definitely need to get something. Oh, you just bought that one, did you? Pretty good. US nickel is 0.5 grams. Ain't that something? Yeah. That's pretty cool. Cool. So, yeah, I'm probably going to use the stack. Is there anything to watch out for when switching back and forth between iNav and Betaflight? Usually motor order. That'll catch you out. But it's far easier these days. iNav has sorted itself out and Betaflight have sorted itself out. Look, I'm remembering swapping back and forth when you didn't have a mixer control. You know, the Betaflight motor mixer now is a dream in comparison. Compared to what it was. You know, I remember when you used to have to do all of the remote color mixing in CLI. You know, I remember watching JB's video on that horrific bloody way of doing it. You'd have to write them all down. You'd have to do the test, write it all down. And it was just horrific. Absolutely horrific. And now you've got the lovely motor mixer in Betaflight, which is just a dream to use, even for motor direction. You know, you don't even need to change the motor direction anymore in your ESC. Literally, about the only thing now I would love to see is a communication between Betaflight and ELRS or 32 that allowed you to set the motor PWM frequency without going into the configurator. It would be great to be able to push some settings from Betaflight into it without having to connect it, even via CLI. It would be great to be able to like hit a button, push in what PWM frequency you want to use, and just let it crack on. That would be really cool. I really don't think in today's day and age, for 999% of people, you really want to need to go into the configurator. Ideally, it would just be great to do it through Betaflight. And Betaflight's doing so much. You know, you got the bind button for Express ELRS now in Betaflight. Something like that would be really good for BL-Heli32. Howdy, just come in after season 4. How are you? Very good. Feature request noted. Currently, Blue Jay needs new firmware to switch between PWM frequency. Yeah, that's a bit of an annoyance. Literally, you would just say, it'd just be great to be able to just go, like, basically a preset that you could load and hit, and it would send it to the ESC and pre-configure these options for you. There's very little else today. Most people need to tune in BL-Heli32. Yeah, I had to flash Blue Jay on. What was it I was flying? I flashed Blue Jay on. I had to flash the different PWM frequency. What was it? It's a quad I built recently. Don't know which one it was. I'm just looking. It might have been the Alpha one. Yeah, I have a feeling it was the Alpha. Mate, AT32 is what the cool kids are using today. They are. Most ESCs are running them as well these days. So, cool. That's that. Right. Before I wrap this stream up, the last thing I want to talk about is what I'm wearing, and that is Fly Tribe. Now, again, I will have a shilling video for Fly Tribe coming very, very soon. However, for those who don't know what Fly Tribe is, it is this magazine. Now, I am going to do a bit of shilling for them because they have this phenomenal magazine that I get sent every now and again. And if you haven't seen this, you really do need to take a look at this because we don't get nice things very often, and this is a nice thing. Oh, the Ronin R4D thing. We'll do that in a minute as well. We'll do Fly Tribe first and then the Ronin thing. So, Fly Tribe is a magazine. You can subscribe to it. It is $20 a month if you want the in-print version, $13 a month if you want the website version, or you can get it with a t-shirt for varying prices, like the one that I am very nicely wearing today. I really do like this one. It is very, very nice. Now, I ain't going to go into everything in this book. You're going to need to go and buy it if you want it. But it isn't very often that you do get sort of real nice in-print mags. This is the November edition. They've just working on the January edition now. And it's not just about FPV. It is about drones and stuff in general. But some of the imagery, and look, there are people in you you'll recognize. Fly High FPV has an article in here. We got Bubby. So the photography in these books is just phenomenal. And again, I'm not going to give you everything. There's also a great article in here by Zoe FPV I saw earlier. There's one there, Meet Luke Flies Good with his larger gear. There's a great article on flight controllers I saw, the brains of the operation evolution of the flight controller. Haven't read this, I'm looking forward to this. I keep threatening I might write something for this one day. Zoe FPV has an article in here as well, which is really good to see. And just look, this is a beautifully put together glossy magazine with some incredible images, incredible photographs. If you're interested in enjoying it, please do consider checking it out. I'll put the website up in a minute. Who's that reprobate, I wonder? I wonder who that is. That dodgy sod luck walking over there. Really interesting. So look, if you're interested to get it, it's a beautifully put together magazine. And actually, I'm going to say this. I think these could be a bit of a collector's item in the future, especially if you look after them. So again, if you're interested in getting one, they are available from the Fly Tribe website. We do have it up here. An incredible team of people who are putting together something, frankly, very, very special, because you don't get stuff like this every day. You can go on subscribe. You can also get the merch on there as well. So you've got the subscriptions. You've got that for the magazines. You can do you can buy a one-off, or you can buy it and subscribe. But also you can get the merch on the bottom as well. And they haven't got this T-shirt listed. This isn't there yet. This is a special one. I don't know if you can get this one, but they are available to order as well. And I'm incredibly grateful for them sending these over to me to wear on the channel, because it means I don't have to wear my own clothes, which is good. Although I will save you from me having to swap T-shirts earlier, because no one needs that in their life. But there is, really do consider it. I'm not going to pretend it's cheap. It's $20 a mag, but I think it's worth it. For this, it's incredibly high quality, and there's some great people involved as well. So that's my shilling of the Fly Tribe magazine for today. I love this one. I think this one looks phenomenal. I really do. So if you're interested in getting it, there's that. The final note, before we wrap this one up, we need to talk about Radiomaster and their release of an Express ELRS module for the Ronin series on DJI. Now, if you don't know what a Ronin is, let me grab one. Now, this is a Ronin SC. What's the battery like on mine? Oh, she's pretty good. This is a Ronin SC. If you don't know what it is a handheld gimbal. Believe it or not, I've made a load of content on these. This hasn't been used for a while, in fact. I need to find the camera plate. But this is a proper gimbal used for proper cameras. Now, Radiomaster have just released an Express ELRS receiver that allows you to use these remotely. On the side of these, on the overhead, if I just show you, you've got this port on the side here, which is a communications port, and Radiomaster have released some Express ELRS receivers for connecting to this. Now, what's actually interesting about this is, for me, is the price, because frankly, I think they're selling these way too cheap. Way too cheap. I think they should be selling these for 4 to 5 times the cost. I'd have gone a lot more than they have. Now, I don't have them. I've not been sent these to take a look at. Let me find it. The image will be here somewhere. Is it the first one? Let's have a look. Here they are. They're called the GR01 for DJI RS2 and RS3 Pro. I don't know if it works on the older ones. The Express ELRS receiver is available for $49. You on drugs, Radiomaster? You're dealing with pro users here. The RS2 and RS3 are pro products. You're not smoking enough. You need that needs to be a 1 before that in this world. This is like boats. Anything for a boat costs 3 times what you think it should, and it's the same for something in this world. So it's an Express RS receiver which allows you to control the gimbal remotely. It has a USB CNC housing. Again, $49, Radiomaster. Convenient direct NATO mounting port. USB-C port. And 2.4 gigs antennas. Now again, it is a product for a very niche market, but that niche market will be willing to pay for stuff like this. You're dealing with a market here that is used to getting stuff from, what's the name of the company who makes the accessories for the DJI Ronin? What are they called? DJI Ronin accessories. Tilter. These are the company that makes accessories for a lot of the DJI stuff. If we're talking accessories in camera world, you know, you've got to really start upping your game on pricing, Radiomaster. Honestly. For instance, we're talking $15 for a metal bracket. Ecosystem for DJI Ronin. So here we go. So a handle for the DJI Ronin RS2, $119. Come on, Radiomaster. You can put a 1 before that price. This is a market you can milk. An accessory plate. How much is the accessory? Weight. $12 a weight. Yeah, this world is all about that. But yeah, Radiomaster do have these new receivers, which is really quite cool to see. 90% of people will never use them. But it's good to see Radiomaster doing like niche things like this. Really cool to see like niche products from Radiomaster on stuff like this. I think it'll probably be quite popular. It's going to allow Express RS into another world as well. I know Wes had a quite a bit of work in this as well, I believe, in the Express RS dev team. So it should be a big congrats and well done to those guys. And yeah, Radiomaster, put a 1 before it for this market. Not for us, for FPV. No. You don't do stuff like that. Tilter. Yeah, I couldn't think of what the name was. It then came to me. But yeah, very interesting indeed. Very, very interesting indeed. I used to make a lot of content on Ronin stuff. A lot of content on Ronin stuff. Now, before we finish this stream up, if you have any questions, please do put them below and I will try and answer them. We're on 93 likes out of 244 people watching, so I want to see that get to 100. You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying. I was watching the catch-up on 2 times and wanted to let you know that a tip that has saved me dozens of seconds of middle clicking opens a new tab. Yeah, I always forget. Oh, it doesn't on mine. I've changed it to something else. Bobby Bags. So true. They could definitely add another digit to that price and those cam yuppies will pay. Have you seen the price of camera gear? You know, trust me, I know I have to pay for it a lot of the time. Yeah, it's scary. Just scary. A small cage from Small Rig is like $100. It might actually increase the sales once they up the price. Yeah, you got to be careful with that market. It's a weird market. It's definitely a weird market. But no, look, if you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat and I will try and answer it before we wrap this one up. As I've said tonight, next week will be an interesting stream. That is for sure. There's a lot to talk about next week. There are some videos coming this week, but I can't really tell you about them. I will be publishing a video tomorrow. I will be publishing maybe 2 videos tomorrow, actually. I will be publishing a video Tuesday. I will probably not publish on Wednesday. I will publish on Thursday. And then it will be into next week. I am going to be publishing slightly less content over the next few months. Nothing dramatic, but I need to get a handle on some things in the background, in my life. And I'm going to be traveling quite a bit the start of this year. And as a result of that, things are going to be a bit slower. I think what we did last year was incredible, but I think my aim is to get to 1 a week, is what my aim is moving forward with a live stream. And maybe what I might change it to is a live stream clip off the back of it. I don't know what it's going to be, but look, 2, 3, or 4 a week is impossible to keep up. Sometimes it's dictated that way because of the product releases and stuff like that. Sometimes it's not. And we're in a period where it is a little bit quieter, but I want to get a handle now on what content I want to be making and not content other people want me to make. The problem with reviews is it's just review, and it gets boring, and I like making reviews, but I also have to have something in it for me, and the channel has become too much reviews lately and not enough interesting content. Now, that will naturally happen when you've learned everything there is about a system. You know, it's not like I can keep making DJI videos. We know everything there is to know about DJI now, 03. I haven't made a DJI video in a very long time. I am looking at AIOs. When you're looking at FC stacks for lightweight builds, weren't you looking at AIOs? I am looking at AIOs. I just don't want to have to buy one when I've got flight controllers here. But yeah, look, reviews is great and it's amazing and all of that. But it becomes a treadmill. And I was incredibly lucky last year, and we worked with some amazing companies, and I intend to continue to work with some amazing companies, but I'm not saying yes to everything anymore. You know, that's a fact. I'm just not. Interesting hardware. You know, I do need to look at some DJI content. You know, a lot of the content has been Avatar HD based. Why? Because Cadex keep making products. And B, and some of it's been HDZero. I've still got the HDZero videos to finish. I've still got the nano camera to test. I just can't get out. The weather is shocking here. It has been terrible. I do want to be doing a bit more 3D printing content just to level things a bit more whilst in winter. But it's like people at the start of the stream complaining that, you know, when are you going to be reviewing the AOS 5 version 5 video? I can't fly at the moment. I virtually can't fly. I can't make a video on something. I can't fly. And then I fly it and sort of say, yeah, this flies all right. I don't know what I can say. I'm probably, for the AOS 5 video, going to do a very basic... I don't know what more I can do on it. I sort of committed to say I'm going to give you a second video to fly, and then I've come back and sort of gone, conformal coating guide is interesting. Someone asked me about that the other day as well, yeah. I think we'll do a microscope-based conformal coating guide. And someone asked me then, I was just like, I don't really know what I can keep bringing to, you know, it's like last year. I love the frames. But here's an interesting point people don't understand, okay? And this isn't a whinge, please don't think. You sent a frame to review, right? The frame is worth $10 to, I don't know, $50. $70 max, most around $40, $50, $60, $60, $70. So I sit there and spend 2 hours making content on that frame, and then I got to spend another 3 hours building it into a craft, and then I've got to get out and fly it. For a $60, $70 frame review, people are expecting potentially a day and a half to 2 days of work. And and then you've got to, you know, it's not, bind and flies are different. You can review a bind and fly really easily because it's ready to go. So you can do the bench stuff and talk about what's good, what's bad, tear it down, and then take it for a flight. When it comes to frames, you've actually got to build the damn thing. That takes time. You can't just pick up everything off another frame and just drop it in and send it out the door. Nothing's the same length. Nothing's the same size. So you're having to, there isn't a plug-and-play 5-inch quad electronic kit that you can put on a frame and take it for a fly. You're spending, to put a nice build or a decent build together is 3 hours of tidying, messing about. The quad build is like 45, 50 minutes, and then you've got the tidy up, and then you've got all of this. And, to review a frame, it's time. It's not as simple as saying when you're going to fly it. When I've got 4 frame reviews in the pipeline that I'm having to talk about. And what I've sort of thought about this is, am I just going to stop reviewing frames? Because it's a fucking pain in the ass. Or do I turn around and say, I am not going to fly this? And I might start doing that a bit more on some frames as well. Some I've committed to fly, some I haven't. And it's a tough mix because I have to spend the time building that. And that time I spend building that is time I'm not then making different or other content or even flying or testing things. So at times it's not as simple as just going, someone says, oh, that flight controller, yeah, but you never flew it. Well, what do you want me to tell you? It didn't set itself on fire. Well, I can tell you that on the bench. It's difficult. It's hard. And, perhaps it's getting harder to review frames and flight controllers when there is this constant expectation of you must fly it and tell me what you think. I could probably have flown the last 20 frames and told you exactly the same things. I don't necessarily know what people want to understand. A frame for me, 90% of what I want to understand is on the bench. How easy it is to assemble, how well it goes together, how well the electronics fit in that frame. That is 90%. Do crash tests. But why? Crash tests are pointless unless you had a specific rig for doing it. And then you're breaking something for no good reason. You're looking... Frame reviews is largely opinion as well. You're looking going, does that feel a bit weak? Do I get every frame in and try to snap an arm? CK Cake, what would you say is the lowest latency setting for the Vista with the goggles V2? What about range? Conformal coated toilet paper. And everyone flies different anyways, Jimmy says. The lowest latency setting is low latency mode. So you've got high and low latency mode on a Vista on V2. So you just have to put it in low latency mode. That's all you've got. So you just have to go into low latency mode. On the V2s. Just making sure we're talking about the V2s here. Conformal coated toilet paper. Absolutely. But yeah, frames is funny. So I have been thinking a bit about some of this stuff. And the intention is it's going to be a bit less content. But hopefully a bit better quality. Because I just don't have time to do stuff at the moment. I barely have time to test anything. I cannot believe the Integras or the goggles too. What the problem is, Chris, is there is no power adjustment in the 03 firmware period. That is the problem. It's not specific to the Integras. It's not specific to the goggles too. Yeah, so on the Vista... With a set of V2 goggles, you have low latency mode and normal or high. High and low, set it to low. That's the lowest setting. And make sure you get yourself something like a Nebula Pro. Hello, Numbskull FPV. How are you? I hope you're well. Right, we're going to finish that one there. I want to say a big thank you for spending some time with me tonight. Have I missed any super chats or have we not had any? Let me just check. I want to say a big thank you to anyone who has. No, we haven't had any, so there's nothing for me to thank. Building empty frames and then snapping them by hand. They aren't like... Logan Rush says, I've always felt that quad frames of the same class pretty much fly how you'd expect. 100%. Generally, they fly all right. There ain't really any bad ones anymore. Don't forget, you can get yourself the Fly Tribe magazine. Please do subscribe. Big thank you for spending some time with me tonight. We'll be back again, same time, same place next week, because there's going to be a hell of a lot to talk about. I will speak to you soon.